Public Service Commission has warned that South Africa is likely to head towards a failed state if it does not address the challenges of unethical behaviour and corruption that has mired the public sector. The PSC has called on public servants to expose corruption and has assured them that they will be protected. The Commission received over 770,000 registered calls of alleged corruption in the first quarter of this year. It released its quarterly bulletin today, covering the period from April to June 2023.
The PSC says the public service in South Africa reflects inefficiency, which is leading to its inability to implement a developmental state agenda. The Commission has welcomed the signing of the proclamation by President Cyril Ramaphosa last month, which authorizes the Special Investigative Unit to probe allegations of corruption at Tembisa Hospital. It says that some public servants have lost their lives when they tried to report corruption and maladministration in the public sector.
We will remember that some people have even died for exposing unethical behavior in the workplace. We can quickly remember here the late Babita Diokoran. May her soul rest in peace. She died fighting a good fight. However, we are happy that at least there is something happening to that effect. It is no exaggeration to say that individuals in these positions face an immense moral challenge, one that demands courage, integrity, and strong commitment to upholding principles of justice and accountability.
The Commission says it received over 770,000 registered calls of alleged corruption in the first quarter of this year, and that at the end of June 2023, it registered 160 grievances, and 95% of these cases were referred by employees. Some of the grievances range from irregular appointments, procurement irregularities, and lack of qualifications of some senior managers.
The referral of grievances by employees is an indication that departments have failed to resolve those grievances internally. So the employees opt to go out because their grievances were not resolved internally.
The Commission says the cost containment measures proposed by government should not affect the payment of service providers for the services and goods already received in the public sector, and that there should be delivery of service in an efficient and economic manner as prescribed by the Constitution. The PSC says that the Public Service Commission bill is at an advanced stage and is expected to be passed by Parliament soon. Naledi Matlapeng, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, for more on this matter, we now speak to Sandile Swana. He is a governance expert and he'll unpack the PSC Commission for us. Sandile, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Of course, coming out from that story we've just played, the Commission saying that it does not believe that South Africa is a failed state, but if not professionalized, it could become a failed state. What are your thoughts? Do you share some of the same sentiments in that regard?
Yes, the South Africa is not already a failed state. It is a failing state in the sense that a number of important institutions have stopped functioning properly. Also, you remember that the security cluster, for instance, the intelligence, crime intelligence, military intelligence, and national intelligence or national state security. All of those are not functioning properly. We don't know if the NPA is up to speed. We know that the scorpions have disappeared out of South Africa. We know that our children cannot read for comprehension at standard 2 or grade 4, and so on and so forth. So it is a failing state. Many of the organs of state have failed, but it is not a total organ failure.
And unethical behavior in the public sector, that is something that continues to come out a lot when you speak of the PSC. You know, what has it cost us as a country?
Well, it runs into billions, but we can talk about figures that we know. For instance, one of the places that where the extent of non-value adding expenditure is happening is in the entire supply chain. In some parts of the procurement of government, as much as 40% of the budget is non-value adding. In other words, paid to service providers for adding no value to the state. So that could be as much as about 12 billion rands a month, between 6 and 12 billion rands a month on the supply chain of the state. And there's much more elsewhere in terms of the collapsing services for the railways, etc., etc.
And the Commission, today calling on South Africans and those in the public sector, to expose corruption and to root out corruption in the public sector. Why is it so important for us, to continue to tell those in the public sector, if you see some sort of corruption, you need to report it?
The number one method of uncovering corruption, fraud and corruption in any institution are whistleblowers. It is not internal audit, it is not external audit, it is whistleblowers who actually help to uncover the majority of cases of corruption. That is internationally the norm, and it's the norm here in South Africa.
Yeah.
So that is why whistleblowing is important, and whistleblowers are employees, whistleblowers are suppliers, whistleblowers are clients or customers of the state and general members of the public, and they do need to be encouraged to report this malfeasance.
But we keep on saying that whistleblowers need to come out and expose the corruption, and the PSC also saying that whistleblowers will be protected. But we've seen so many cases of whistleblowers not being protected, them losing their jobs, some being killed. How do we work towards ensuring that, whistleblowers are protected? And of course, I know that there is that bill just before Parliament, to ensure that there is some sort of act in this country that we see whistleblowers protected. But so far, many South Africans, how do you encourage them to become whistleblowers if they've seen the ramifications of whistleblowing in the country?
Yes, we do need to encourage whistleblowers to continue with the job. We have to be aware that we have a very difficult situation of corruption, of corrupt politicians, corrupt employees, managers of the state, corrupt suppliers to the state, as well as criminal syndicates that operate within the state. And that is what you've seen at the University of Fort Hare, people being shot dead at a university over the supply chain of the university, the procurement processes of a university. We've seen so many of these things. I met one whistleblower this weekend on the Trillion scandal, guarded. But it's not enough. The protection of whistleblowers, Athol Williams has left the countries overseas, working overseas, running away from potentially being murdered here in South Africa.
Yeah.
So Ramaphosa has got to do much, much more in hiding and protecting state whistleblowers across the board, in the private sector and both in the private and the public sector. They are not adequately protected.
And of course, we've seen that 770,000 of those whistleblowers have come forward, and there are registered calls for corruption. Would you say it seems as if we are showing progress here when it comes to calling out corruption in the public sector?
We may not call it progress. What we can say is that there are people who are willing to blow the whistle. As to whether the NPA, to me, since Cyril Ramaphosa came into power, the NPA has not shown the teeth that we saw from Bulelani Ngcuka and Vusi Pikoli. We are not seeing that. But people are coming forward with information. I know personally of a number of people who are currently being victimized and brutalized by the ruling elites for the elites to protect corruption. So Ramaphosa is not yet doing enough to actually, that we can say there's progress. People have always been reporting corruption. So we cannot say there's progress if we don't compare that figure to historical figures.
And for us in a country to turn around the public sector and to ensure that, we don't become a failed state, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that we have a progressive public sector in this country, that delivers its services to the people of the country?
The first step in the direction of avoiding a failed state is for the voting public to vote out the ANC, which is the party that brought state capture, which is the party that closed down the Scorpions, which is the party that harassed Vusi Pikoli, Bulelani Ngcuka out of office, which is the party that itself is run by criminal syndicates and accommodates corrupt politicians, and which is the party that has got the majority of people listed in the Zondo Commission. So there is a need to either reduce the votes that go to the ANC or to vote the ANC completely out of power.
All right, Mr. Swana, thank you so much for your contribution on tonight's show. That is Sandile Swana, is a governance expert there, just giving us his insight when it comes to the Public Service Commission and those comments coming out today saying that, the country is likely to head towards a failed state if it doesn't address the challenges of unethical behavior and corruption.